Is crystal meth getting much more popular in the UK? The biggest ever meth bust in the UK concluded last May. 6 people were jailed after police in Nottingham caught them receiving deliveries of meth stashed in shipments of weight loss shakes, bar stools and motorbike helmets. They were busted after customs officers intercepted a parcel at Stansted Airport. It led to a total bust of £7 million worth of meth.
Nottinghamshire police were alerted by Border Force officials.
Extremely surprised to discover that it was crystal methamphetamine. It's the biggest crystal meth seizure that we've had. The scales involved are huge.
Latest government stats on drug-related deaths have just been released, and we can see that there has been a steady increase in meth deaths in the UK over the past 20 years. There was 8 deaths between 2005 and 2010, but between 2021 and 24, that figure had risen to 57 deaths. And if you look at the latest Home Office stats, there has been an increase in people entering treatment for crystal meth dependency. Last year, that figure was 826, up from 615 the year before. Home Office argue that this number has been gradually increasing since the reporting began in 2005 to 2006. This video is brought to you by Easy Test Kits, quick, reliable and affordable drug testing kits for all your favourite party prescriptions. They are presumptive testing kits that can give you a very good indication as to what is in your baggie. Remember, you can only make informed decisions when you've got a good idea of what you're dealing with. If you want to learn more or buy a testing kit yourself, head to the description below and use my promo code SESH for a 10% discount. So we're seeing an increase in drug-related deaths regarding crystal meth and people that are seeking treatment for crystal meth, which I'm sure I don't need to tell you is an uber strong stimulant. Whether you snort it, smoke it, inject it or swallow it, it's going to keep you alert, awake, often euphoric, often horny for days.
Well, meth, or TINA, to give it its full name, methamphetamine, is a powerful stimulant and it acts mainly on 3 brain chemicals, dopamine, noradrenaline and serotonin. And the combined effect of that is that it can heighten your mood, your alertness, your sense of sociability, and also, of relevance to my research, your sex drive. But also it can have some negative effects. It can tip into paranoia or even psychosis. People can exhibit kind of odd repetitive behaviours, and also people can become irritable. To go into a bit more detail, dopamine is the brain's main reward chemical. Meth itself causes a surge of dopamine by reversing dopamine's normal transportation process, which creates a sense of euphoria and also a strong sense of people wanting to kind of redose. With repeated use, those reward circuits can become dysregulated, leading to low mood, poor sleep, cravings, and then, as I said before, sometimes psychosis. Question 3, what are some misconceptions about TINA? So I would say not all drug use and not all use of TINA or meth is in itself automatically inherently harmful. Certainly some substances do carry higher risks. Not everyone who uses meth will become addicted to meth, but meth and GHB, which are one of the other chemsex drugs, are particularly addictive, and you will be at higher risk of developing dependence to those substances if you use them, especially if you have certain risk factors. But for me, harm reduction isn't about making a moral judgment about whether people should do drugs or people shouldn't do drugs. It's about making sure people know the risks and that they're able to kind of protect themselves and that they're fully informed of all of those risks.
So far in the UK, meth, or also known as TINA, is most prevalent in the queer community, in the chemsex subculture within the queer community, where it forms part of the holy trinity of chemsex drugs, which is GHB or GBL, methadone and TINA, and Viagra, which facilitates group sex going on for days often within the chemsex scene. But is it going beyond that societal subset now?
Do you think that crystal meth is going, because traditionally associated with the queer community, but is it going out into more?
Oh yeah, it's in the last 6 months, I've had 8 people in prison, and 2 are bisexual, 3 gay, and because my first question is, G is G, gay. Like, no, really? Why are you using that? Squat. Really? And it's just like, 40 quid, not using G, cheaper than Coke.
We've seen an increase in deaths. Is Tina moving beyond chemsex? So I would say that chemsex is possibly a contributor, but it's hard to say for certain that chemsex itself is driving those deaths. So the most recent study looking at LGBT-related drug deaths done by a team at South London and the Maudsley, led by Dr. Emmett Roberts, found that chemsex does account for a significant proportion of drug-related deaths, but it's a minority of those cases, so it doesn't account for the whole picture. I think it also depends how you define chemsex, though. So how would you define chemsex? Would you define it in science terms by the pharmacology of the drugs that are used? Would you define it subjectively in terms of the effects that people are seeking? Do you define it in terms of the population, so the people that are involved? Or do you define it by the intent, so what drives people to take part in it? And you're right, we are hearing anecdotal reports of so-called chemsex drugs being used in non-queer communities, and for me, if that happens, I would define that as sexualized drug use. I wouldn't define that as chemsex in the traditional sense. But I also think, kind of whatever the label, if people are being harmed and if they need access to support and accurate information, then we need to get that to them.
Meth has been used for decades now worldwide. It's got particularly popular during that time in places like Australia, North America, the Czech Republic, or Southeast Asia, but it never really took off in the UK. In 2005, when it first arrived on the chemsex scene, some people argued that it might get big in the UK. In this 2005 report from The Guardian, for instance, they said the extent of meth use in this country is obscured by the fact that the number of seizures and drug-related arrests are lumped in with amphetamines. There are no separate statistics. But it never did enter the mainstream in the UK at all, and it rarely went beyond the chemsex subculture. Not yet anyway. But why was it never popular here? One suggestion is related to geography. Because the UK is so small, everyone is well served by the established drug networks here. It's very easy to get your hands on often extremely high quality stimulants like MDMA, coke, or amphetamine, which we call speed. Remember that in the UK you can drive right across the whole country in a single day, but in parts of, say, Australia or North America, you have these very rural areas that are not served by big city drug networks. We can have those networks everywhere in the UK because we're so small. Well, meth is relatively easy to produce using equipment and chemicals that are much more readily available than things needed to produce many other drugs. So in these rural areas, you get little domestic kitchen labs producing meth. Rightly or wrongly, many people in the UK think, well, we already have better quality stimulants. They're just a phone call away or a telegram message away, so we don't need meth. A huge amount of people in the UK don't know anyone who has ever taken meth. So all they have to go by when they're learning about the drug is references in popular culture, which almost always came from North America. Meth users are always depicted as being extremely ill, twitchy, paranoid, and so on. They just don't look like they're having much fun. Many people think that that's put a lot of the people in the UK off. After all, you see celebrities here talking about and using drugs like cocaine, but you never see them making songs about meth. It's not very fashionable. I think this is one of the only times that I've seen depictions of a drug in media actually stop people using the drug. And that's because most people here in the UK do not have a frame of reference. So when you see pictures like this coming in from North America, they think that that's what will happen to them if they take meth. But people who know people that take meth know that that's only the worst case scenario. It's a bit like when a teacher tells you that if you smoke a joint you are going to die. Well, straight away you know that that is bullshit because you probably already know many people that smoke joints and they've not died. But in the UK, because we don't have that frame of reference, many people looked at these images from North America and just thought, nah, I'm never going to take meth because of what it does to you, not knowing that that's just an exaggerated caricature of the worst case scenario of using meth. Many people that take meth, the vast majority of people that take meth look absolutely normal, have got their lives together, and are not the worst case scenario. Now, you could show pictures in the UK of people who are dying from alcoholism or alcohol use disorder, but you wouldn't actually stop drinking because you saw them images, because you know that most people drink and that doesn't happen to them. So that's one theory of why meth never really got big in the UK. The queer community are often pioneers when it comes to the sesh. It happened with MDMA. They were the first people to adopt that as a recreational drug. It happened again with methadone. According to 𝘿𝙚𝙪𝙝, who's a psychiatrist who founded the NHS Club Drug Clinic, told the BBC in 2013, quote, "What we have seen many times is that the gay community has been a sort of early warning. So it is possible that this could happen." But then again, this was heavily touted in 2005 and it didn't happen. So I think it's important to keep an eye on this. However, the jury's still out on that one. If you're new here and you found this video useful or interesting, do me a favor, give me a sub and click the bell notification. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one.